Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 719th edition of the Feuerstein's Fire American Soccer Show. I'm your host, Daniel Feuerstein, and I'll give you an American perspective of our clubs, leagues, players, national team, and other fabulous moments. Get your daily reading from me and other writers over at Beyond the 90 at beyondthe90.substack.com, also beyondthe90.net, and of course, locally on New York's soccer, New York sports, over at baddogsports.com. Chat room is open here on YouTube. Please come on in, discuss amongst yourselves if you like. If you have a question for me, I'll try to answer it to the best of my abilities. And as always, please subscribe here to YouTube on the channel for your daily American soccer content. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me just go ahead and say this. The World Cup is coming. The World Cup will be here very, very soon. We are right now March 16th. And for everyone, tomorrow, it will be St. Patrick's Day, this coming Tuesday, March 17th. So to all of you out there that celebrates, happy St. Patrick's Day to every one of you. Now, as I've said, the World Cup will be here very soon. Absolutely, the World Cup will be here soon. And that means we can think about what the atmosphere will be like when it comes back to North America, in the United States, shared with our neighbors to the north in Canada and our neighbors down south in Mexico. And of course, I can't forget the first time the World Cup came to our shores in 1994. Now, for those of you that are probably not familiar, I know some of you probably already are, we have seen from Adidas, they have brought back the original 1994 shirt for the U.S. men's national team, that denim shirt that made them play or look so famous in front of the home crowd. It was tremendous to see those jerseys, and not just to see those jerseys, but, you know, you got to say, when you notice that that World Cup was how the whole thing got started. The whole thing got started. Now, we already know 1990, the shot heard around the world, of course, with Paul Caligiuri's miraculous goal to beat Trinidad and Tobago down at Hazley Crawford Stadium to get to the 1990 World Cup. If not for that to begin it, and then the World Cup itself coming to the United States, the craze for this game of soccer, this game of football, we wouldn't be talking about it. I wouldn't be talking about it. I wouldn't have this show. We wouldn't have so many shows dedicated to the game in our country, to the game across the world. Obviously, we have dedicated to the club sides, North American sports, down over in Mexico in the Liga MX. We have so many podcasts out there. And of course, I try to be one of the top ones as much as possible because of my belief in that we can be a part of this world game. And, you know, we're going to have on from Fox Sports, they're going to show a documentary based on what happened in the 1994 World Cup with the U.S. men's national team. And, you know, once again, this will be on May 23rd on Fox. They're going to have on Kobe Jones, of course, Alexi Lawless, who is the Fox Sports analyst for the studio shows with Rob Stone. They'll also probably have Kobe Jones. They'll probably have on Tony Meola. I'm also hoping for Tav Ramos. I'm also hoping for Marcelo Balboa and Eric Winalda. And obviously, I understand it, they're going to have on the former head coach of the U.S. men's national team, Bora Milutinovic, there for that documentary. So that's going to be exciting and fun. Now, for myself, you know, growing up with the sport at first, because my parents and my family are originally from Eastern Europe. They immigrated here after the Second World War, of course, separately, of course, because my mother was here with her parents, my grandparents. My father and my uncle were here with their parents, my other grandparents. And, you know, for me, it got started with the New York Cosmos back in the original North American Soccer League days. going to Giant Stadium. I never went to Yankee Stadium. I never went to the old Downing Stadium that used to be on Randall's Island. Of course, that's that little island that's in between Manhattan and Queens, and north of it, the Bronx. And that was the original old-fashioned athletic stadium. Of course, they just got started over there, and then they moved to Yankee Stadium. Then they moved over to when they finally built Giant Stadium. They played over there, and Pele played there, of course, and Giorgio Canalia, Warner Roth, Shep Messing, all those wonderful players that have been a part of that history of that club for such a long period of time. Anytime I was in the same building with any of those former players who played on those teams, who played on those on the Cosmos, I've always felt honored to be in their presence. Shep Messing, for me, of course, covering the New York Red Bulls when he was in the building at Red Bull Arena. I also at times I think at Giant Stadium. I didn't really see him at Giant Stadium too much. I know I saw him most of the time at Red Bull Arena. Just to be in the same building with Shep Messing was just an honor in itself for me, because you're standing in front of a man that has done great things for that club back in the original North American Soccer League days. I'm just a man, but in reality, he's a legend, and I can never take that away from Shep Messing. A man is just unbelievable, and I'm lucky enough to have relations with him and having conversation with him. It's just wonderful to talk to him whenever I get that opportunity. But let me just say this: 1994 was when I got the love of the game back when the World Cup came. Now, I will admit, before the World Cup began in 1994, I was in the midst of a Stanley Cup championship run by the New York Rangers in the NHL. And then when they won Game 7, the next day or two, here comes the FIFA World Cup in the United States. And I was down in Walt Disney World. I did my little college program there and working at Disney World. And I returned for the summer program and watched the World Cup as much as I could. Was able to go actually get tickets for Ireland versus Mexico at the Citrus Bowl, now Camping World Stadium in downtown Orlando, just a little east of downtown Orlando. Should I say maybe a little south of downtown Orlando, I should say. But, when you are down there, obviously the heat and everything we understand, but that's how the passion came back. That for me, that's how it all got started, was watching the U.S. men's national team, that big shocking victory over Colombia, even though Colombia did put the ball in the back of their own net. And I believe that was the 2-1 victory over Colombia. And then, of course, I believe it was the next match was a draw, and then the third match was a loss. But they still had enough on the points and the goal differential to move on to the round of 16. And we all saw what happened with Tab Ramos, unfortunately, the injury that knocked him out. Because I believe, when Tab was playing, I would like to believe if that play did not happen, if the Brazilian player, that was Bebeto, I could be wrong on who it was, when he really gave a flying headbutt square on the head of Tab Ramos and really made him bleed, I really thought that, the U.S. would have upset Brazil with the man up, because that one Brazilian player did get sent off for that red card that he delivered, that flying headbutt he delivered. I thought he was going to get sent off, to be honest with you. And he was. But with Tab Ramos out, it was a different game. You didn't have that threat in the middle of the pitch. Now, if that was still there, that was still possible, I thought they're going to win. But Brazil is Brazil. They always find a way, when their backs are against the wall, they always find a way to pull off that big goal to put themselves ahead. And from that point on, I got the love of the game back. Now, at the time, I didn't even know that Major League Soccer was in the works if the USA gets the World Cup in 1994. I had no clue that MLS was being born at that time. I wasn't part of the media. I wasn't paying attention. I just was thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to, when I get back home, I'm going to find out there's a professional soccer league somewhere in the US and I'm going to go to those games. And then, of course, then you find out about Major League Soccer coming in, and they began in 1996. And I was patient. I wasn't rushing them. I wasn't trying to tell them, "Hey, hurry up, let's go, let's get this thing over with. Let's get a league out there." But personally, I wasn't rushing them. Now, obviously, here's how I became a fan of a certain club in England. Obviously, Manchester United. And here's the funny thing. It wasn't because of David Beckham. It wasn't because of Paul Scholes. It wasn't because of Michael Owen or Dwight York or Robert Schmeichel. It wasn't anything like that at all. It was not. It was not anything with the players. I'll tell you what happened. I think it was either during or after the World Cup ended, I asked around, of course, what goes on in the summertime. And obviously, England did not qualify for that World Cup in 1994. But the English tourists would come to Disney World on holiday and come with their families. And I've always recognized them they always wear their shirts, whether it's their club shirts or their England shirts. That's how I would recognize, which club teams are available or who I should be supporting. So what I did was, process of elimination, you might say. I said to myself, okay, I'm going to keep track of how many jerseys from England are being worn by the English supporters, and I'm going to give it probably a month. I don't want to make it too short. I want to make it a day or 2 or 3 days or 4 days. I want to make it at least maybe a week to 2 weeks, something around that time in June, July, because obviously the next Premier League season starts in August. And I became a Manchester United fan because the amount of Manchester United supporters that I saw walking around, not only at the Disney, then called the Disney MGM Studios, now it's called the Hollywood Studios, but also walking around whenever I had my days off, going to the Magic Kingdom, going to Epcot. I kept track of the English football jerseys from those particular supporters. And Manchester United had at least 12. I saw Arsenal with about 5. I saw Newcastle United with 2. Didn't see any Liverpool. I guess Liverpool they weren't there at the time. I don't know. I didn't see much of Chelsea either. And so that's how I became a Manchester United supporter from England. And then, of course, when Major League Soccer came in, right away, I said, if it's a New York City team, a New Jersey team, a North Jersey team, I should say, whoever plays that giant stadium, anywhere in the 5 boroughs, that's my team. And that was, of course, at the time, the New York, New Jersey Metro Stars. And that's when the first Metro legend was born, Giovanni Savarese. Of course, coming to the club was from the World Cup, Tab Ramos, Tony Meola, Peter Vermees was also part of that club back then before he went to Kansas City. Remembering Roberto Donadoni, Anthony Di Avila, Rhett Hardy. Of course, he's always was known for his shaving his bald head and became Mr. Clean, of course. That was the start of that one. We cannot forget, of course, Miles Joseph. And, of course, that's where Zach Thornton was the backup to Tony Meola before he went to the Chicago Fire and had the career he had from 1998 on. So, just tons and tons of excitement and, great moments that started with how I was a fan of the club. And then, of course, covering the club now professionally from the time it went from MetroStars to Red Bull New York now, well, New York Red Bulls now, Red Bull New York. I started doing my one-page newsletter covering the club, and not only just talking about what they did in MLS, but of course, what they did in the Open Cup up to a certain point. Also decided to cover the U.S. men's national team. Oh, excuse me, the U.S. men's national team, whether it be a friendly, World Cup qualifying, or the Gold Cup, the World Cup itself. I would print out one page dedicated to the MetroStars, and then if there was another tournament they got involved with, then I create a secondary page and I just staple it together. If it's the men's national team or the women's national team, then I would staple that together, of course, to be a part of it, because you're trying to show support to the game and support to the club. And that's how it all got started, all the writing I started. And then here I am now. It went from the writing to the Champion Soccer Radio Network, and then from the Champion Soccer Radio Network, after they went under, I came in with my own show, because I said to myself, well, no, this is not going to be the end of me. I want to continue on. I want to continue on and cover American soccer as a whole. Look, I can definitely easily do a Red Bulls podcast. That could have been the easiest thing to do for me. No, I felt that I need to cover the entire game on its own. And obviously adding the elements, not just what MLS does, now the lower levels of American soccer and the professional levels, like USL Championship and USL League One, USL League Two. And then, of course, giving those amateur teams those opportunities, giving the short season teams those opportunities. And that's where I have my partnership right now with the National Premier Soccer League, and I have a good working relationship with the League for Clubs. I get in touch with these clubs; they want to be on the show, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. It's nothing you can say or do. Look, sometimes it's just difficult when you can't get these teams. Or you're trying to get people who cover these teams themselves, whether it be a fan pod or a fan writer, a fan blogger, or trying the outlets from the regular newspapers. They do bring in these people, and working, and then of course working at the time with SB Nation people, and just be grateful and lucky that I've made friends across the country, and especially up in Canada. To bring them in to be a part of the show, because I'm trying to do what's right and what's good, and continue on to be a standing up for what's right in the game. So it's just one of those things where I do my best. I try my best to not only inform you about what goes on in American soccer, but at the same time, what goes on within our nation. What goes on in Canada, in CONCACAF, and then, of course, this summer, let's not forget, we're going to have the World Cup as well, and hopefully we're going to have some fun here and talk about what's happening for each and every match day for this upcoming FIFA World Cup, which is going to be exciting and a lot of fun, and cannot wait to see what will happen there. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Let's go ahead and give you tonight's segment sponsor. It is Dino Lezzi Energy Drink. When I need that extra kick to power through match analysis and late night transfer rumors, there's only one drink that delivers authentic Italian energy, and that's Dino Lezzi. Crafted in Italy with the same passion I bring to this show, because real energy comes from real ingredients, just like real soccer talk comes from real insiders. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, no guests for you tonight. But I do want to talk about the situation that we had with two former Columbus Crew players who have been suspended indefinitely by Major League Soccer for gambling. Now, obviously, in today's world, you can't really hide it, can you? Everyone has their cameras rolling. Everyone has their radars up. Everyone knows that when something gets leaked out, it's going to come in, and it's going to come in real hot. really hot. And for Derrick Jones and Yaw Yeaboah, formerly the Columbus Crew, those two have been suspended indefinitely by Major League Soccer. Now, currently, they're playing in with other clubs in other leagues somewhere around the world. But if an MLS club is going to look at bringing them back, they cannot return. The only places they can return is either USL Championship or USL League One. Maybe they decide to go to USL League Two, somewhere else around the Confederation. But if they go back to MLS as a whole, even if they do go back to, let's just say for the heck of it, they go to MLS Next Pro, and they want to hang around with the kids and get some minutes in, or at least I would say, I'm guessing if they retire, they want to be a coach. I don't think they can come back and be a coach in the United States. They'll just have to retire and coach somewhere else or coach into the USL level. So, it's really a shame when you're placing bets amongst yourselves, trying to get yourselves booked. And, the whole thing with the whole, DraftKings, FanDuel, how they've allowed it to creep in to the professional levels, because we all know that betting, the gambling is a very big thing here in this country. We have to say, this is what we feared. And, pardon me. This is what we feared when it came to the gambling coming into the professional leagues, that a professional player will make these types of attempts. And it has happened. And it is a shame. And it is a very big shame, because we cannot allow the gambling to infiltrate the professional leagues. We already know about the whole 8 Men Out movie about the Chicago White Sox in the 1919 World Series, where they were trying to throw the World Series as they got paid by gamblers, bettors, also degenerates, and the mob. So, that's an automatic no-no. And then, of course, we've seen what goes on at times. Of course, there's a former NBA referee who got convicted of betting during NBA games, Ryan Dunaghy, I believe it was, and he's no longer officiating in the NBA as a referee, obviously for a long time. So we haven't seen it, that much in baseball. We haven't seen it in hockey that I can claim that I do know. I don't know anything about what goes on. If there was any betting done in the NHL, if it was found out, you probably might have to go maybe, I don't know, in the early 10s and 20s, early teens and 20s when it comes to that in the NHL. I have not seen recently, or if there was back in the day, gambling in the National Football League. If there was, I think at the moment, it's not to my knowledge. If there is any reports, probably just go ahead and Google it, and we'll see what comes up. But this is the first time that I believe in Major League Soccer we have a real situation happening. And it's sad. It's very sad. Look, while I understand with Major League Soccer probably that the level of payment is not there yet, possibly, or it is. It's just, it depends on how much money they make and everything. Look, myself, I don't gamble on sports. I don't go to FanDuel. I do not go to DraftKings. I mean, I think about it, but I'll be honest with you. I will admit it's a bit complicated for me. It's very complicated for me. I wouldn't know what the whole parlay situation is. I don't know how to make a bet for this. I don't know how to make a bet for that. All I would do probably is, just bet to see who wins. I can't go with the points spread. I have no idea about the point spread. So, I'm not going to claim I'm a genius or anything. I'm not going to claim that I know what goes on. But unfortunately, others do. And there are those that do take advantage of that situation. And sometimes you get those degenerates that don't know how to stop. Now, obviously, all I can say is I'm pretty darn good with the slot machines. That's as far as I can go. I've won a good amounts here and there at my times in Atlantic City. Recently, now here in South Florida, I have been to the Hard Rock Casino in Hollywood, Florida, and I did win a good amount of money on the good old Wheel of Fortune slot machine. That's my bread and butter. That's my bread and butter. So, I get lucky on that. But still, though, it's a situation where there are those that don't know when to stop. And if you don't know when to stop, well, then you're going to put yourself in trouble. And that's what these two have done, Derrick Jones and Yaw Yeaboah. That's just an absolute disgrace for what they've done. And now they can't come back to MLS, even if they did want to come back to MLS, because they went overboard on this simple situation. Don't bet on yourselves or on your team. And they did it for 2 seasons, 2024, 2025. So that's a shame within itself. It's a real shame that these two had to pull that off. And they're going out there and they're trying to find ways to satisfy either a curiosity, an addiction, or maybe they felt that, hey, let's give it a shot. And if it worked, it worked. I mean, how is it you bet on yourself to get yourself booked in the match, so just so you can get the money? I mean, that's ridiculous. You're supposed to prevent yourself from getting a yellow card, not trying to earn one. But, look, we don't know what was in their minds. It's really a shame that this happened. And once again, I just believe that we cannot allow the gambling to infiltrate our professional leagues, no matter which level it is. We got to stay out of it. Look, there's always going to be gambling of some sort. You'll always go to Vegas for the odds. You'll always go to the newspapers in the sports section. You'll always have the point spread in the sports section, depending on which newspaper wants to put it out there and which one doesn't. But the truth is, it's all out there, whether you actually physically go to the casinos or you do it online through your smartphones. The gambling industry has now been infiltrated, and it's a regular occurrence. And yeah, there'll be people that will create gambling sites, but it won't be real gambling. It's just made up money. And my wife plays these games. And she says, "Oh, look, honey, I'm $10 million ahead." And I asked her, "Is that real money?" "Well, no." "Well, then don't tell me about it, because it's not real money. It's not. I play games that has a certain dollar sign amounts where, you spend the money to play a game or two, but you're not getting that money to cash out. You're just putting it back into the game because it's really fake coins. It's not real coins, it's fake coins. I am not going to be a video gamer millionaire or billionaire if I can't take the money out myself, So, hey, look, I'm an old fart. I know that. It's not a big deal, though. But the truth is, hopefully, this will be the first and the last article or report that we hear about players gambling on clubs in their own league in MLS, or even if they do it in Europe or in South America, Africa, Asia, up and down the Americas, Oceania. I hope we don't get that again, because we can't have that again. We cannot have that return and put a black eye on the world's favorite game that we all love so much. We all know money's flying around all over the place. We know there's going to be bets. There's going to be point spreads. Everyone goes to Vegas or wherever the ritzy glamour areas for casinos and betting and all that other stuff. Well, we'll wait and see what happens. But I mean, who remembers putting down money for, in England, I think it was the lowest bet for Leicester City to win the Premier League, and that was William Hill. And how many people actually put money down for that low bet from William Hill? And when Leicester City won the Premier League, William Hill had to pay out all that money. I mean, I bet they couldn't believe. I bet they were like watching, like, yeah, they won't win it. They won't win it. Please don't win it. Please don't win it. Please don't do it. Don't do it. And then it finally happened that they did. And they were the first club in England in the Premier League. That was not Man United, not Man City or Chelsea or Liverpool or Arsenal that won the Premier League title. Leicester City did the impossible, did the dream, and the dream turned into reality. And all those people who placed a wager with William Hill in England cleaned out the betting property people. Because don't forget, in England, betting is illegal. Excuse me, betting is legal. I want to make sure I stress when I say that. Betting is legal in England. They'll have it at the stadiums. They'll have it in the neighborhoods. And it's just amazing to what they're able to do. So, and you wonder if, they take American money. I don't know if they do or not. I think they probably do it more online than they do have a William Hill betting shop somewhere in the United States. But you know what? Look, I wouldn't be surprised one day we'll have betting shops inside the MLS stadiums. Probably not. I think that'd be frowned upon because of the children and everything. But, you never know. You never know. And of course, let's not forget now, U.S. Open Cup matches are also available to bet online. So that's going to be exciting. That's pretty much fun. And of course, we always had a betting scandal involving a certain lower division club, Miami United, that I had Carter Krishnair on talk about. Thankfully, it did not become a true story, but there were allegations made at a kiosk at the Hard Rock Casino for the Hard Rock Bet. So, we'll see what happens there. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk about the big tournament coming up within our country. You know what it is. You know it. You love it. You want some more of it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to preview the first round of the 2026 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Now, obviously, they've taken out the fifth round for this edition because of the World Cup. Now, I believe it's phony. I believe it's egregious. I believe it's not right. But I am willing to allow this to slide. I'm willing to allow this to just slide and go away. Watch the tournament, see what's going to happen, and then take a look and see if they bring back the fifth round for 2027. Now, once again, we need to see when MLS moves to the international calendar, and the hope that USL, until they get their union issues solved, we have to hope that USL will make the right choice and move their season to the international calendar itself. Because that is the only way that the Open Cup will make sense and that it can be scheduled the right way. Don't forget, everything must come together. We cannot continue to have this separation. Everything must come together when we talk about the U.S. Open Cup, and hopefully it will be fixed very quickly. Because once Major League Soccer says we want to make the move to the international calendar, well, you know what? Hey, fellas, it's time to make that move. It's time to make the Open Cup what it should be. Plain and simple. The national championship of American soccer. But right now, it's to the 2026 edition. Once again, none of the expansion clubs for USL Championship or USL League One are in this one this year. At the same time, there are some clubs that didn't make the playoffs last year in USL Championship. They are not in this edition's tournament, and hopefully they'll all be back for 2027. But here we go with the first round schedule, and here we go for this coming Tuesday, March 17th, and here you are. Look at that. Now, we all know South Georgia Tormenta will not play this season. They have bowed out. They're not performing this season. That means they lose their U.S. Open Cup spot, and that means CF America, CFL Spurs, and from Florida, the amateur side, will now automatically advance to the second round, and we'll see who they'll be playing against into the next round. Now, once again, the majority of these matches will be on YouTube. There will be one match playing on CBS Sports Network, one match on CBS Sports Golazo in the first round, also streaming at the same time on Paramount Plus. And here it is, the schedule right now. For Tuesday, March 17th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube, Richmond Kickers taking on Northern Virginia FC or Nova FC. Rhode Island FC taking on Club Deportivo Fialenza. And then Vermont Green taking on Portland, Maine's Portland Hearts of Pine. That's going to be, of course, CBS Sports Network and Paramount Plus. Detroit City FC taking on Michigan Rangers. And then the Battle of Pittsburgh, the Battle of the Steel City, the Steel City Derby. Steel City FC hosting the Pittsburgh Riverhounds on Rooney Field. Westchester United, the U.S. Adult Soccer Association champions and NPSL, taking on Loudoun United. Colorado Springs Switchbacks taking on the top amateur side in the state of Colorado, Azteca FC. Indy 11 taking on the Des Moines Menace. Will we see a return of Sasha Kleistin, Bradley Wright Phillips, and all the former ex-MLSers joining in for the Open Cup competition? It should be fun, and we'll see what happens. Phoenix Rising FC will be taking on San Ramon FC, and that will be on Tuesday, March 17th. Now for Wednesday, March the 18th, here are your matches, 15 of them. Chattanooga FC taking on Kalanji Pro Profile out of Georgia. Asheville City SC taking on the Greenfield Triumph. Charleston Battery hosting Florida Badgers FC. Louisville City hosting Southern Indiana FC. Naples, FC Naples hosting Red Force FC. FC Motown taking on Hartford Athletic. SC Vistula Garfield hosting One Knoxville SC. Bofs St. Louis hosting Union Omaha. Little Rock Rangers hosting FC Tulsa. San Antonio FC hosting the ASC New Stars from Houston, Texas. New Mexico United taking on Cruisers FC. Sacramento Republic taking on and hosting El Farolito, the revenge match for the Burrito Boys from San Francisco as they're in the capital city of California. AV Alta FC hosting Valley 559 FC. Ventura County Fusion taking on Spokane Velocity. And finally, Orange County SC hosting Laguna United. Those are your matches for Wednesday, March the 18th. And then on Thursday, March the 19th, we will have all YouTube matches. Carolina Core of MLS Next Pro taking on Virginia Dream FC. Charlotte Independence taking on Ristosi FC. You get my papers here. I just want to make sure I get that correctly. As we have Flint City Bucks taking on Forward Madison FC. We have Lexington SC taking on Flower City Union. Westchester Soccer Club hosting the New York Renegades. That's Westchester County taking on Long Island. The Battle of the Suburbs, the Suburb Derby. Tennessee Tempo hosting Chattanooga Red Wolves. And finally, over in Texas, Laredo Heat taking on El Paso Locomotive. That, my friends, will be your matches for the first round of the 2026 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Exciting, fun. I'm ready to go. Are you ready to go? Of course, don't forget to join me on Beyond the 90 for Open Cup review shows after each and every match day. And then please come back here on the Feuerstein's Fire American Soccer Show next Monday, as I will host those clubs that have won their matches in the U.S. Open Cup Round 1 proper portion of the tournament. So that's exciting. That's a lot of fun. I can't wait. And I know you can't wait as well. And then we'll wait to see who will face whom in the second round. Just to go back on the Open Cup real quick, I've written so many articles about what changes I would make for the tournament. Excuse me. I really believe that we need proper changes. Nothing too drastic, but things that make sense. And, what we need to see from them, we need to see draws from the first round all the way down until the semifinal. And I believe it should be not just a blind draw, but regional blind draws. Because I still believe our country is vast. Our country is large. And what we need to do is make sure that we have all these situations wrapped up into one, and make sure it all makes sense. You've seen my articles on Beyond the 90 about this, what I think should happen. Of course, I had to change things up a little bit because until we get these U.S. soccer to actually make the Open Cup what it should be about, then we'll be in a better place. And until now, it's fine. But more needs to happen. And I truly believe if they can fix it the right way, we'll be fine. The tournament will be better. And then making sure that we have MLS not interfering, USL not interfering, NPSL, whoever it is, not interfering with the natural order of the game in our country. Because we cannot continue to have this. We cannot continue to have 16 clubs in MLS only going to the Open Cup. We need the whole kit and caboodle. Right now it's 27 because the other three, as we know, are Canadian, and they have their own Canadian championship to play in. So right there and then, we don't have to worry about that. But the point is, excuse me, it was a long day today for me, so I apologize about that. Once again, we must, and I stress this, we must make sure our Open Cup is sacrosanct and that all the clubs do play in it. And that's where I say, I'm going to leave it alone for now. If they want to use the World Cup as an excuse, that's fine. It's okay. I understand. You don't want any time taken away from the Open Cup because the World Cup is here. I understand that. I get it. Fine. But if this is just an excuse to reduce the tournament and take away a round, well, I'm sorry to say it, but that's a farce. I hope not. I hope not. But I really do want to see the fifth round return next year in 2027. That's what I hope for. That's what I would like to see. And so finally, we're going to review the Red Bulls match against Toronto FC. It was their home opener, Toronto FC, over the weekend, Saturday afternoon. And it was a 1-1 draw. It was, boy, if it wasn't for Garvin in goal for Toronto, this should have been 4-1, 5-1 Red Bulls. But it wasn't. He was up to the task. And, taking advantage after stopping the corner late in the first half by the Red Bulls and Toronto making that attacking run, just making them, making the Red Bulls reduce their numbers in the back. And Daniel Shalhoub chipping the ball over Ethan Horvath and getting the goal that made it 1-0 at the time. And you're thinking they're going to take the 1-0 victory and they'll keep all 3 points until that last corner delivered in the middle. Chaos inside the Toronto FC area. And it's Eric Maxime Choupo-Moting who found a way, delicate touch, buries the ball into the upper near 90, splashes the net. Gavron, in disbelief, crumbles to the pitch and could not believe he got scored on, and the match ended right away, 1-1. 7 points in their first 4 matches. 7 points in their first 4 matches. That's a great start. That's an excellent start. And we'll see what they'll do. Their next match on the road next week at Charlotte FC over at the Bank of America Stadium. It was just fun to watch, exciting to watch. Obviously, Audrey Mehmeti is the talk of the league, the player that he is. Just filled with energy, running, hustling, jumping around. And Audrey Mehmeti, sorry about that. Audrey Mehmeti, what can you say? What can you say? I'll tell you what you can say. The kid's impressive. But let's tone it down just a little bit with the hype. I'm not saying you can't be excited. I'm not saying you can't be crazy. Go crazy as much as you want. But let's try to not crown him for the national team just yet. It's only been his 4th match played in MLS. He's going to have some bad games. They'll pop up every once in a while. But, we're just going to calm it down and take it easy. I love watching the kid play. I enjoy watching the kid play. And hopefully all of you will too when he gets that opportunity finally. But until then, look, for now, sit back, relax, enjoy the show, and then hopefully he'll get his first goal in his MLS accounts. So we'll see what happens there. He already has the 2 assists. Hopefully he'll get his first goal very, very soon. We'll see what happens there. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching me tonight. Unfortunately, no guests tonight, but that's okay. Join me this coming Friday for my CONCACAF Champions Cup round of 16 second leg review, as we'll hopefully get more guests on for those that cover those clubs from MLS, and also hopefully with Liga MX as we talk more football. And don't forget, next week as well, we will have the Open Cup review show for round 1 and my regular Four Fire American Soccer show next Tuesday. So come join me here at YouTube. You'll sit back, relax, enjoy it, have some fun. You won't miss a thing. Once again, my name is Daniel Feuerstein. Thank you very much for watching me tonight. And as always, I beg of you to please enjoy your football. Thank you. Take care. So long. And bye-bye for now. Have a good night, everybody.